54. We will once again begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we actually have a flag to look at this time. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
Got a little reverb going there. All right, where shall we start, folks? Did you guys both get a chance to read through what was sent by Sandy? There was a difference in what we discussed for the early
you
separation.
mean regarding the TA thing?
Yeah, the TA thing. Did you read through?
I haven't gone through all of that. What I had gone through was treasurer stuff.
So we may need to go back through that or discuss it, but that's not something that's something we can discuss. The portion I'm talking about can be discussed here.
Gotcha.
So we should go in executive session to discuss the offer, I assume. I'm doing that right? Is this going to be open session?
I think, well, if I'm correct, did you want to do the treasurer stuff first, review the application?
All right, then we can do that. All right, so we'll do that first and open. Okay. Well, that's a little strange. He's looking sideways because he's talking to me directly. It's weird to do that again. All right, so let's do the treasurer applications first. I'll give you guys real quickly. The top three I picked were Ruben Equity Jr., Paul Redmond, and Alexander. I can't read it. Haggerty. I gotta go back and look at the name right, but Alexander. I think it's Haggerty. It is Haggerty. I only found a felt tip pen to write with, so it's all smudged and blurred. What do you guys have? Dylan, want to give me your three?
Yeah, I have Lisa Gibbons, Melanie Rajanimi, and Paul Redmond.
Lisa, is that your rank? Lisa was 1?
I'd say Lisa and Melanie are about tied for 1, with Paul being the 2.
Two 1,2s, and Paul would be your 3. And Matt.
I do believe that I know I had 2 of what he had. I'm just trying to figure out my rank.
Sure.
I would say Lisa and Melanie were the 2 that I shared on the list.
I liked Lisa initially, and I backed off her when you look at her education. Not what I want to see. But
right.
Just reading through her letter and her experience, it's like, oh wow, this really seems good. But she was my number 4 because of that. We'll go through those and make sure we're all seeing the same thing here.
I think I might rank it, for me it would be Paul Redmond, then Lisa, then Melanie. My 4th, I want to make sure I'm saying this right. I don't remember which one I saw that I was like, I like that, but it made me wonder why he's interested in our town. Based on the rest of his resume, I was like, cool.
Would that be Ruben or Keaty?
Pretty junior.
I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. I think it might have been Ruben. Seemed like he had a lot of experience, a lot of education, and was coming from his current job. do this right now. I think that was my concern is, okay, yeah, my concern actually with them was I didn't see any actual municipal experience. Am I correct in reading this?
Well, let's go.
Not private, that's what it was.
Yeah, let's do one at a time. So we'll stick with this one for now. And go back to Ruben and see why that was. That's why I cheat and I have my tablet here.
My plan was to print some of this out, and then I got home and my printer connects via Wi-Fi, so that didn't help me any.
Yeah, my printer's been giving me difficulty as well. Strange, we keep losing internet. Yeah, so Ruben has completed 11-2-1 certified financial analyst exams. He's got his MBA from UCLA.
I'm pretty positive
The
my
MLI
third actually would have been Alexander Hagerty.
His was very, I thought, over the top. You think maybe his experience wasn't?
Ruben didn't show any municipal experience.
Right.
That made me wonder because there's a lot of weird rules with municipal finance.
I think, if I'm right, I'm going to go read his cover letter. This is the one I'm thinking of. That he's been basically a consultant for towns and businesses and corporations, consulting as an auditor for people on their books and things. So he's been a step above all of this, which has been his experience. If this is the right one, this is, I got to make sure. I'm not speaking out of turn here, but.
Consultant of finance and HR administration,
Right,
consultant of pensions and investment.
So he's been a consultant for all sorts of things. WC 1099, Treasury, Finance, Human Resources, Investment, Risk Management, IT Analysis, Industry Experience in Aerospace, Automotive, Asset Investment Management, Financial Services, Pro Temper Government, Investment, Office of Treasury Investment, which is important to us. Oversight, bond portfolio, trading, settlement, new bonds, investment, risk management, business analysis, risk management system installation, update, general equity bond. So basically, he sounds very much overqualified. The education's there. His other degree, the MLI, whatever it be, was something to do with that, with the auditing sort of thing. Foxborough's an hour and a half ride. My brother lives right next to the stadium. He's in Walpole, right next to
3 hours a day to come to a job that's probably not going to pay him when he gets where it's at.
Could very well be that's this could be someone that's maybe unemployed right now and just floating a resume to collect unemployment. I don't know. But I thought,
and a 4-day work week might be appealing to him.
Right. So it's maybe he works on the list of your guys' fourth or something, but I just overall liked his resume better than anyone else's resume. What do we want to talk about next? You guys, let's go to Paul Raymond because we all had Paul on the list. You and I had him as 2, you went in 1, and Bill had him as 3. So let's look at Paul's resume for a minute.
Not that it matters, but one of the things I think on the Paul that I did like, in 2009 to 2016, he was actually a software support specialist for the Vadar system, which is the software system we use.
Okay.
So he definitely is going to know the ins and outs of the treasury software.
And it says he's completed all classes for the CMMT, the Treasurers Association, his exam is scheduled for August. Got the Vadar system, I see, and after that, he was assistant treasurer collector from 16 to 18 in Shrewsbury, and for Boxborough has been the treasurer collector.
He's currently
in Bellingham.
Bellingham, yeah.
Right, he was in Boxborough 18 to 19, at Bellingham present.
The only thing that gave me a little bit of pause with Paul Redmond's resume is that he hasn't spent, he's just over 1 year in Bellingham, was less than a year in Boxborough, and then less than 2 years in Shrewsbury. So I'm just wondering a little bit about why he's been floating from position to position so much. It's not disqualifying by any means, but I would just like to...
let's look at that. Let's look at where he went from to. Let's see if it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't. So Vadar Systems in Acton, software specialist till 16, and then you get into a town position for 2 years as an assistant treasurer. That's a logical jump. And you left that to be an actual treasurer in Boxborough. Now Boxborough is very similar, maybe Hardwick, not even Barre. So it's a very small town. Because I lived in active Boxborough. So that makes sense.
Population?
I think it was pretty small. Might be bigger now, but to me it was the offshoot of it. It was active Boxborough. They were just a little side town to us. I don't know how big, but anyways, then going from Boxborough for a year and getting a shot at Bellingham, we probably saw a good pay jump and an opportunity to move up that. So that doesn't worry me as much as one of the other ones we'll talk about in a minute. And a whole bunch of 1 year extends places all around, which I didn't like. But yeah, I think he looked solid. The move around didn't worry me. I do like the computer. And the education, I think he doesn't have his master's, but his bachelor's, is that right?
Yeah, bachelor's.
Yep, BA.
Yeah, business administration, which is good for this job. It's not as good as the public administration. Like, we're not talking to Gabe, it's not as good a financial degree, but business administration, I think his said he did it in finance. He took a lot of courses in finance, as I recall. That was business management, not administration. And management was more towards the operations end. Administration is typically more the financial side of the business. And I thought that's what he said. He went to school. He focused on that end of it. But I don't know. I think we all agree we've got no concerns there. Real concerns. Next one to discuss will be Lisa. And like I said, I liked her initially, my number one, right off the bat. And I started to look at the resume more carefully. Now, she has been treasurer collector with Shirley for 3 years. And 3 years prior to that was assistant accountant for Shirley. So she's stayed put, which is a good thing. Her education is a nursing degree, high school diploma, and 3 years of nursing. There's no education, formal education for the financial aspect. And Shirley also is, when I lived there, next time I lived in was Groton and Shirley, they're all bordering towns of Fort Devens. When Fort Devens closed, they were trying to do a new sewer system out there and a new piece of a prison, and nobody wanted it anywhere. So the board and Shirley made a quiet deal to accept the septic sewer treatment and the prison. And for that, they built them all sorts of new town buildings, millions of dollars of buildings. And people wanted the good property value upgrade because now they all have, water sewer where they didn't have before. They upgraded the whole town. But other than that, Shirley also, before that, the home values were horrible out there, and they've come up pretty well. But it's still a relatively small town. It's not that dissimilar from Barre. They've got a little more business in there, but not much. It's not any big business, so it's still a relatively small town. I can't imagine their pay scales are very high. But the education Worcester State University for, with a high school diploma doesn't say here that she got a degree.
I think she was just doing studies under that, doing it at the same time through the
Right.
assistant town accountant.
And then she went into ambulance billing from there, which makes sense. It's
No,
sort of-
actually, the ambulance billing occurred and then she went into nursing. Her dates line up with the assistant town accountant while she was doing her, was taking her.
14 to 17, okay.
So it may have been ambulance billing.
So ambulance
gave her a feeling of
got to go to
nursing.
nurse instead of the nursing. But anyways, this is someone who's strictly experience-based without any education behind it. And that, when we talk about the treasurer, it's a treasurer collector. Collecting is straightforward. Bills come in, you collect the money, you make sure it goes in the right accounts, and things are, properly annotated when you take the funds in. And the treasurer side, writing out paychecks isn't that hard, but there's more to it. When we get into investments and bonds and all those sorts of things, these are very technical. And this is where I'd much rather see a finance degree. Not no degree. And the fact that she has absolutely no degree puts her, to me, far below some of the other candidates. And that's why I dropped her. I originally highlighted her at the beginning. I picked the 4 I kind of liked, and started looking through them afterwards, and I moved and I dropped her down to 4. And that's why. So if you guys still want to rank her 1 and 2, feel free, but I'm very skeptical that she doesn't have any degree.
And I agree. I think you can do a really good job as a collector based on experience. I think treasurer is a little bit more involved.
That's our concern, and that's we talk about the financial security we got with the assistance of Andrew, the things he straightened out. But a lot of that guidance came back and forth with and to the treasurer from Andrew. And when we sit down and agree on what they can invest and sign that back and how we're going to invest money and how they can do it, we still trust them to do that and understand what they're doing, pick the right things to invest in from there. Keeping track of where this money comes from, these different accounts and the account balances. Now, granted, Gene does that as an accountant, the actual tallies in the end. But I just skeptical without the degree, without the actual educational training support. All right.
No, I get that.
Alexander Haggerty, education. First of all, I like the resume. Starts off right off the bat. Education very clear. Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration, concentration on accounting. All right, so it wasn't the other one. It wasn't Paul. It was this one that had the well outlined that his administration degree was towards accounting things. Assistant collector in Lowell's, what they've been doing. Assistant collector, accounts payable back in the early 2011, 2013. And a bar manager before that. And probably lines were getting their degrees, and they've been doing collection. They haven't been doing the treasurer side, and we just discussed that. This is why he was my third pick, not my first or second. And admittedly, Ruben may not be a real candidate. That may be the unicorn out there that too good to be true with what he has. But when it comes down to even Lisa and Alexander, at least there's a tough call. One person's only done collecting, but they have the degree to back it up. And the other one's been doing the treasurer, for, I don't know what Shirley's, we can look up what their, revenues are each year that they're spending on. It's probably, not dissimilar from us. Right. Right. The other one I need to go back and look at is Melanie, that was for you guys 1 and 2. And I didn't even consider. Oh, is it the new one today? Was that what? Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Melanie. I like this and something put me off. wasn't put me off. Oh yeah, that was the one where we have from 2018 to present, treasurer, collector, and Lester. But I guess it makes sense. She was only a year in Athol as the assistant treasurer, but then she went to the actual treasurer position, so that makes sense in a short move. Then she was a health agent before that, so she went health agent, jumped to a treasurer. Yeah, that's all right.
About 2017, it looks like she kind of made a shift in her.
Right. But I think also her education was what bothered me.
Green sustainability.
Substantiality, one of the two, something like that.
Yeah, sustainability studies.
Sustainability studies. I don't even know what that means.
It has a lot to do with development, like kind of property development, things like that. And sustainability is part of it is focusing on how much recycled material you can use, your energy efficiencies that.
So really,
not picture long-term planning of.
Nothing that relates to handling our funds.
I would say no, other than
and that's
the mentality you get with that may give you it does kind of cross over when you're thinking about your long-term plan, which is something a treasurer does need to look at.
Well, associates in natural resources and sustainability, it looks more like we're more looking towards recycling and sustainability, not so much financial management planning, which is really what a treasurer does. And you would think that you go back and take some more courses. It's like we'd asked Evan about before, if you consider going back to school to get that degree. But it's one thing to have some experience, but she has a few years experience now. Assistant treasurer for a year in Athol, and now a year and change, almost 2 years, a year and a half, in Leicester as a collector. I can't imagine we're offering more money than Leicester.
No.
Is Leicester overwhelming? Is that overwhelming her? I mean, I'd be curious as to why she wants to change.
In her letter, I think she said that. There's one that said that.
She wants to stay closer to home.
Staying closer is a nice long-term home. Like if she got the job, she could see Barre being a long-term position. Doesn't have to be.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's her first paragraph in her opening letter. Pretty much that. Taking what would be almost considered a lateral move from Leicester to Barre is a benefit to her because Barre is that much closer to home.
By that orange, yeah, it would be. I mean, is there any? There's no direct way to Leicester from Orange, is it? You'd have to come.
You pretty much got to come through Worcester in that day.
We're through. No, you can duck even 122 towards the Quabbin and cut down to Route 9 this side of the Quabbin, but still might be just as easy to go all the way through Barre and hit 56. But yeah, it's.
I guess it would also depend on what part of Athol you're in.
Oh, she's in Orange, right?
Over gives you a different.
She's in Orange. Oh no, North Orange Street in Athol. You're right. Oh wow. So yeah, definitely. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You definitely got to come this way or go across. They have to be a much shorter drive. I guess the same thing. It's the education isn't. She's getting into a field that's outside the education. When we look at the administrative position, we say we'd like the public administration degree or a management degree because those are similar things for the office. And when you're looking at, for me, when I'm looking at someone that's going to be the treasurer, strong banking is one thing, and banking experience doesn't hurt. but you got to have some sort of degree, I would think, towards finance or financial management. Like I think it was Alexander who just talked about that his degree says he took management with, leaning towards accounting and a lot of accounting courses like that, which is exactly what you want to see for the trip. I'm very hesitant for these ones without the degree. We have several that have degrees. So you guys pretty much didn't like Ruben because you just think he's the rainbow unicorn. He's not real. I mean,
I
seems
just
too good to
don't
be
quite
true.
understand his interest in our town. Don't get me wrong.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
There's a lot of personal reasons why he could say this is the appropriate thing for him, so I'm not trying to knock that. It just makes me kind of like you said, is it the unicorn we're going to chase? And
Right, you may not be interested in the money. He may not be interested. Maybe a stepping stone. Maybe a step back too. You never know. If someone gets to the point that they've done this in the bigger towns, they don't want the hustle and the stress, and this would be a little easier, a little more relaxing job, and with such smaller funds to keep track of them. You never know. A lot of people, this is stepping up, and other people, this would be a step down.
right, high school in '85. I'm not trying to. I'm just thinking this.
Who are you looking
That
at?
means he's in his mid to late 50s.
I graduated '83, so that means he's 2 years younger than me, 52.
Okay, all right. So that is my background. But what I'm trying to say here is primarily he's got private history. One of the benefits that you go to a municipality is you can tap on to your retirement with the retirement system of municipalities.
And benefits and things too as well.
So you could be making that move because maybe he is working a 50 or 60-hour job, and he would like to step back.
And he could be at a retirement point in that job to step out of it and wants to go do something, stop.
Or he started telling people this is the right recommendation, they say no. And he's like, I can only consult for so long before I just don't want to be the one. I've just seen various, so yeah.
And
There's multiple reasons why he might be a valid.
it seems to me more likely, more plausible that he's getting ready to retire from it. And he wants to stop the big game and settle down and not travel and consult and be all, to consult, you're not doing one firm. You're going to be having multiple clients all the time to keep yourself busy. It's a lot to jumble and run around. And to reel it in, you make less money, but now, hey, you nail down the benefits, standard vacation time, it's your job. Maybe he's banked enough money that he said, okay, maybe he's really good at it. He's ready to retire. Money's going to work for him. He's just going to keep himself above water to retirement age. Don't know. I'd like to talk to him and find out, but.
Just to clarify, can you guys hear me over his microphone? Because I still have my mic off because I didn't know if you guys can hear me.
Sometimes you get a little quiet, but
But I'll just speak louder. That way we don't get the reverb between the microphones.
Well, we could mute back and forth too. Doesn't matter. A second to click it. Yeah, speaker.
I'm gonna mute.
There we go. That's why I had the mic off. So Greg has kind of sold me on a couple of other items. I think maybe I shied away from a couple just because he kind of explained it fairly well with Ruben. I do like what Paul and Alexander bring to the table. Experience as well as education. I do also, the reason I kind of liked Lisa and Melanie is they kind of showed a familiarity of what I thought might be kind of more consistent with the town of Barre and our budget in town versus what maybe some others had. Like Woburn and Lowell, they're kind of a whole different thing. So the thing from Alexander Haggerty that I'm a little questioning is he really hasn't managed anything. He's been an assistant collector. He doesn't really show, not saying his education doesn't help, but any real history with the treasurer side himself and making those decisions. So Paul, I like him. I am a little bit questioning the jump from Boxborough to Bellingham and now looking to jump another. That's not even quite a full year at each spot. He didn't even put in a whole year in Boxborough as a town treasurer tax collector before he went to Bellingham for the same role. And now he's got a year in at Bellingham, so maybe there's a reason he'd rather come this way. And of course, you travel west versus east in your commute, it's always going to be nicer. So West Boylston to here is much easier than West Boylston to Bellingham. It took me an hour and 15 minutes when I was going to the Air Force Base in Concord, that neighborhood, from Worcester. So if you're in West Boylston and you're going to Bellingham, that commute's very similar. There's no quick way there. So I could see why that might be part of the reason. And also, who knows the relationship with all the various. I don't know Bellingham well enough to know if he's got an issue there.
Boxborough, I can see too, could have just been a non-fit. To go from Shrewsbury in this area to Boxborough, it's very different out there. It's not.
Right. So
It's Boxborough to me was probably more of a town like Harmony. There's a lot less going on.
do we want just 3 or are we willing to throw a 4th in?
Well, I'd say at this point we probably should because we've got such a wide gap.
I mean, because I'm probably looking at this now, and from my perspective, I'm thinking I kind of like at least to give Ruben a shot. He can kind of better explain why he even thinks Barry's something to consider versus just dropping resumes everywhere. And if Barry answers, then he's willing to try it. But I like Paul, Alexander, Ruben, and Lisa. And the reason I like Lisa is partly, if I remember, one is her continuity.
Right.
She's been in the same town for years, even though she did different roles. When she found a place she liked, she seemed to be willing to stick with it. There is something to say about that type of continuity because we like that. And it's hard to say what experience she can bring to the table that her lack of education might be missing.
And that's the biggest. That's my big hope in those others, it's just education. She has a high school diploma, she has no formal degree. Doesn't mean you couldn't talk to her, but it's
right.
That just makes me very nervous. Doesn't mean she hasn't learned about everything she can learn, but even when you learn the ropes. I don't know if Dylan can hear me now. Dylan, can you hear me?
Yep.
Even if she learns the ropes and learns how the day-to-day goes, when something new comes up or a challenge or a problem or concern, if she doesn't have the education to draw off and how to deal with it, that's when we get in trouble. And that's my worry, because we need to have someone in that position that knows how to deal with those unusual circumstances. And that's the education I think is important. That is why I shut her down.
Yeah.
And Melanie was similar, wasn't it? The same thing. Was I saying she was education was the reason?
Yeah. Melanie also didn't really have
sustainability. She's more into recycling and the ecology kind of thing,
Yeah.
not the finance. And either one of those, I tried to stick to people with the degrees. Alexander was third for all the reasons we talked about. Paul Ruben, I like him, is to decide if we want to pick 2 more. I don't know, like Dylan, what do you think? If we pipe in, you're okay with Paul and Ruben, then pick 2 more of the other 3? Yeah, if we did, if we wanted to do five, if I was going to make a list of five, it'd be Redmond, Haggerty, Roger Meany, Gibbons, and Rakuti. Melanie and Lisa, the lack of education I thought was well offset by actually being a treasurer and collector, and Lisa working for the town of Shirley from July 2000 to June 2020. That's some serious dedication to a municipality. So I thought that was impressive, maybe enough to overcome an educational shortfall, or a shortcoming. But I feel like that's what could be sussed out in an interview. And similarly for Melanie. But I would be Greg and Matt are both muted.
I said, are you okay with Paul and Ruben for two of our candidates interviewed? Matt and I would both like to hear that. And
Yeah.
if we want to pick two others, the choice is Lisa, Melanie, and Alexander. And my concern for both Melanie and Lisa's education.
Well, then what would you think about reaching out to Paul, Alexander, and Ruben, and maybe a second round of candidates could be Melanie and Lisa? You're muted again.
I don't want to drag this out to a second round, so I'd rather pick one of them up to do a fourth now. And the question comes down to, do we take someone who has no degree, or do we take someone who has a degree in a completely different field, which there's education there, but it's not directed towards finance in any way. So between those two, Melanie and Lisa, I prefer Lisa because she has some experience directly in the field, more so than Melanie.
I would also. Okay. I would also suggest that Lisa's experience, even with the ambulance billing, probably makes her a pretty strong collector, because ambulance billing can be difficult, chasing that down from multiple insurance and all that. So when you add up, because she's got a lot of time with the ambulance billing, but then she rolled into more the treasurer collector role.
Shows, and I like that. And believe me, I like.
But between the two, Melanie and Lisa, I would also favor Lisa as a fourth applicant if we wanted to do Paul, Alexander, and Ruben and Lisa. I think we're getting a good rounded group of interviewees, and the interviews may be the reason why we determine whether we either need another interview with just one or two people, or if we're really comfortable with the response and we could just make a decision out of those four. Ultimately, I think if it all plays out, don't get me wrong, when Ruben probably has the best resume and application to give us the best treasurer collector we could get, from what I'm reading through experience, but I'm very confident that, yeah, that's just where I'm at. I think I like the kind of the resume of Paul. I don't like that his work history only goes back to 2016 outside of the sports. Let me rephrase that. His municipal experience only goes to 2016. And the last two moves, so going to Bellingham and then potentially coming here, does make me question, are we just another stepping stone to something else?
He's the one that's in West Boylston, right?
Yes.
That's what he said. He may have done, the Boxborough move was kind of like, what am I doing out here? And he went to Bellingham and said, oh, this drive is killing me. I can't do it. He just wants to get out. That would make sense. So he's going back to
started in Shrewsbury, which is kind of similar to driving here. Shrewsbury from there is not bad either. And I would be surprised if that's not why, you know.
I do like what Alexander brings to the table. And I guess he does have 7 years working with municipal departments, but he has no management experience showing here. I mean, restaurant bar manager, so I guess I can say he's managed people. That it is different. So yeah, I guess I really don't have a prediction of the four we just spoke of. Paul, Alexander, Ruben, and Lisa. I really think the interviews would make me say, all right, is this the right person? And I don't think of those four, however the interview goes in the process, I would not look at it and say, I wish we had interviewed somebody else that applied.
No, I would think we're going to find what we want within these four. And once again, I think we'll probably find a couple we like. The question, what's going to be best, the best fit. So we agreed on those four then, guys. We're going to spend more time on this.
Great.
All right. So, Jessica, please line up interviews for Paul Redmond, Ruben Equity, Alexander Haggerty, and Lisa Gibbons. When we want to do these interviews, gentlemen, I'm very flexible on this. So I assume you are. I'm just gonna.
I cannot do Wednesday night because I have a dental appointment at 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm open Thursday again. So next Thursday.
Can we try and push through 4 Monday and Thursday? Earlier, or do you want to do two? I'd like to get them all done once.
That's the reminder that you have the DPW permit.
If it's possible, I'd rather see if we can get the 4 done Thursday night, that 13th, if that day works for everybody else. Obviously, I don't know if we want to look at a second day in case
We can decide.
1 or 2 of the 4 can't make that night for some reason. We're kind of,
Well, can we bump Friday as a possible alternate if we have to? I mean, I'd really rather try to get them in Thursday night. Most of these people all supposedly work regular jobs. It should be, probably 8 to 4, 9 to 5.
I could make it so I could make sure I'm here if we wanted to start at 6 instead of 6:30. Thursday night, I can make myself get back in time.
So we can go 6 to 6:30, 6, we'll say that we get the 5-minute bump, but sometimes it's a break, sometimes we run over, whatever. So we'll plan them at 6 o'clock, 6:35, 7:10, right? And 7:45, is that right?
7:10. Yeah,
Take
7:45.
us to 8:15.
And then allow a little time after if we want to do some discussion.
So we'd be done with the interviews by 8:15. So if we wanted to talk for 15 to 20 minutes, we could. We may have a good, we can find out quick, do a quick litmus test. Say, hey, anybody have a strong preference, and see if we do. We can talk about it briefly to say we're good. If it's not, we'll take a day and rank and hit it Monday night after the second.
So one other thing, and this doesn't even have to be executive session. This is a position on a classification plan with steps. It's not a negotiated contract. With that said, we have at times hired people and we move them up a step or two based on whatever they're bringing to the table. I think that is our right. Might want to see if they want to just verify with Labor Council that that's not an issue. I think you're starting, you can always kind of place them where you need and they're stuck in the plan.
We can place them wherever we want. We make those games. So we can, I'm not the least bit concerned about placing somebody up for experience.
Right, but the top
But that's
step is the highest we can pay them. So we don't have that negotiable unless we revote a whole classification plan.
If we do like someone, we want to talk about finances and they're not happy with the stock, but we can negotiate the stock position. Bearing in mind the cap is the cap, but we can negotiate the stock position. So, if we do want to get someone that's done 4 years and they have to take a pay cut to come here, if we can get them to the same salary and they have a little bit of growth, it might help. So.
Do we want Jessica to tell each interviewee the lowest and the highest in that classification So if someone says your highest is still too low for me, it's not worth interviewing, we don't waste our time.
Sure. Why don't we get the salary range, a bottom and top of the
Yeah,
salary, you know, when you met with the.
First step, last step.
Or just even this word back, yeah, I'd say first step, last step. And depending on someone's experience, we'll place them someplace in that step range, but we'll never exceed the next step, except for COLA. You get that all there, Jessica?
Yes, I am.
You're muted if you're talking, I can't tell.
Oh, I said, yes, I am. Sorry.
That's it.
She got it?
She said, all right, yes.
Okay. So we're done with that portion of it. There's no other business we're going to discuss except.
Greg is muted.
Both of you guys are muted.
Funny. So I am not muted now. So Greg just wanted to confirm that that business is done and the next step is now to get into the town administrator negotiation, correct?
Yes.
So,
We'll do executive session for that. And if we work it out, then we'll come back to open meeting to.
yeah, if we come to an agreement, we'll then announce it in open meeting after, which I'm just curious. I don't recall if we've done a meeting where we've gone to an executive session and then come back to open, and how we've coordinated that with Rich Degon and BCTV so we can capture that
as part of
thing again. Is that something we need to stay on and just stop recording and then start recording again?
We don't have to announce it. We could, you know, if we may not have an agreement of terms tonight. And B, even if we do, the official start dates, when we agree and when we go sign it, we can announce it to the public Monday or whenever, just fine. You know, the announcement's not important as long as we make it, I think. All right. So if we came out of executive session just to adjourn, and then we could publicize it on the webpage tomorrow, so it's just announced to everybody initially. We reach an agreement, and the details be, you know, publicized. So
It seemed like via chat.
It seems like via chat, Rich was willing to share the phone number. So if we come out of executive session and do want to announce it, we could probably call him and he'll jump back in to record the final little open meeting to make the announcement. And then everybody can feel like we're being as transparent as we can.
that sounds good, Rich. We appreciate it. We would, I would expect 15 minutes or so in executive session, if that. This could be 5. I don't think it'll be much longer. We've prepared our side. It's just a matter of what Jessica feels comfortable with and winds up wanting to discuss, think over, or whatever. So with that being said, let's take the appropriate motion to go to executive session, please. You have the spell out there.
Oh, right, I know what you're saying.
I'm going to promote.
I'm just trying to remember the proper reference to Mass General Law, Chapter 30, Section 21A. I think is what it was.
30A, Section 21.
Excuse me, Chapter 30, Section 21A. Inhale, saliva. Always fun.
Well, I'll make a motion that we move into executive session per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel.
Thank you, Dylan. Matt, do I have a second?
I second that.
Thank you. I have a motion, a second. I'll call for a roll call vote, please, gentlemen.
Pat Urban, yes.
Clark, yeah.
Greg O'Sullivan's yes.